bagenda akatoneze mukaaga Busoga 1 Famma omwoyo gwa Busoga.
Yegwe esaawa diri mmeka?
Essaawa diri 12 okunkyo.
Omuyizi bw'ajja okuyiga ajja n'emitego egy'enjawulo omuli entuula, omufuno byakozesa okuteega ensolo yaba agiririre n'abafere bato bwe bali balina enkola kamaala bye bakozesa okufera abantu. Yowayi kambuuze baakuferaku era bwe baba baakufera batya? Wano mu nkulungo y'obufere ojja kumanya ensonga kamaala ebigema ku mufere. Kale otasiguka katunyume.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Wasuzotya awuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga. Ninze awali kisiba ali kulamusaaku enkyo ly'olunaku olwaleero ninze ali kwebaza okwekuumira ku mwoyo gwa Busoga watuwuliriza program enkulungo y'obufere netuuse enkyo ly'olunaku olwaleero tusobole okuboneka nga munange twega bingi, tusoma bingi, tutegeera bingi nga bwekyetaagisa. Kale wawuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga nenda kukwebaza, nenda kukusiima okuba nti munange owuliriza. Munange nina kyenenda okwogeraku nga tutandika programu eno. Eriyo obukulembeze obw'ekainogoga, ekainogoga, abakulembeze ab'ekainogoga, nina ensonga gyenenda mukoleku. Abazaire n'abakulembeze ab'ekainogoga titwenda kwesika n'abaana baimwe, ife abandi twida kubagema tubate munda, titwenda kwesika nabo, but omulimu ogw'okulongoosa enguudo tigwa imwe. Abaana bataawa amabenseni awo mu nguudo batandika okusaba esente ku kifuba. Enguudo dino abantu badisasulira emisolo, so amagombolola, district ni government erina ekitongole kiramba ekya UNRA n'abalongoosa enguudo. Bw'oba osazeewo okola bulungi bwansi kiri option omuntu okukuwa esente oba obutakuwa. Aye ndi bakobera ogwo omuze bwe gunayiramu twida kuyoola abatabane baimwe, twida abatamunda batukobere ani yabawa obuvunaanyizibwa obw'okulongoosa enguudo n'okusaba esente abantu. Omuntu okumutoolamu esente ekifuba musango. Bwebate mwidi ategeera nga tubataire munda. Nina lisiti ey'amayina ag'abavubuka. Abavubuka munange bagiire balemera kati ndamwogeraku. Aye omukyala gwe mwalemere kuti mumwidi. Mwamusaba esente ndi mu motoka nsiriike. Twenda sente. Lwaki okozesa oluguudo? Nina lisiti ey'amayina, nina ebifaananyi bimwe. And I reported the case. Nimwiramu okikola nja kubagema nze mwene ndabagema. Bomba mulongoosa oluguudo. Tibuvunaanyizibwa bwaife okubasasula sente. Ife tugula amafuta, tusasula emisolo. So abakulembeze ab'ekainogoga ekyo mbalabwire. Kyali ni wano ebudagaali wano ngo nje otandika okunina oti olusozi ebudagaali. Nali nja kubuyitaawo mbumale kuba na bulinzaamu bwa motoka. Tulina bizibu byaffe tuli kutwala abaana mu malwaliro, baana bali tufaaku. Ngoyemerera mu luguudo. Nkume na amagulu nze neeyongerayo. So abaana baimwe mbalabule aye otherwise tujja kubagema. Ekyo kiweire. Mwebale okuwuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga. Ebiseera ebisinga abantu tubakayindi ekiswise. Mwatandika n'okulowooza nti mulina kukikola mutyo. Mwida kwemerera mu luguudo ng'omusaadde emmotoka eremereirwa okusiba. Nze nabona ku emmotoka eremereirwa okusiba nalinva mu katale ka Napier. Emmotoka yava waigulu eneeti yaserengeta n'oluguudo olwo balweta Clive Road, yaserengeta paka mu matooke ere yali fuso yabandaawo abantu yabamalawo. Omuntu ayida kuverenga emmotoka efire breaks ajja abamalawo mwemerere mu luguudo. Mu bintu eby'ekisirumbu muli kulongosa luguudo era muli kusaba abantu sente. Ani yabawaire obuvunaanyizibwa bw'okulongoosa oluguudo. Oluguudo bwe lwakutendala era asaba mu gavumenti oba mu kanso ey'eigombolola. Mukola ebintu ebizirayo. Butiini abeena suuti eri abali kubonyabonya mukwano gwange kansala bw'ine ekisaala. Omukulu tobonanga ku mpologoma nga bagiswire mu bumyu. Empologoma bagisula mu bumyu. Kazaano kaayo. Kansala bw'ine ekisaala ena suuti awo. Bw'obanga wafo omukulu bw'obanga watunda eri ebintu ebyatundibwa. Nimujja ni mu mateeka nigasalawo. So va ku itaka lya mukwano gwange. Pologoma bwerwanira mu bumyu eyinza okubumalawo ekyange kikomyawo. Kansala abwine ki mukwano gwange ate ino mukwano gwange ino. Kansala abwine kisaala mukwano gwange nkizeemu ate ino. So waidi omuntu empologoma bweberwanira ku mulera waayo waidi engeri gyesobola okulwanamu and kusuubiza wayinza okukungula oyinza okukungula enfufu ey'oku luguudo ng'ogitambuliramu. Mwebala okuwuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga. Idda tulina we twakomye ku mboozi ya Pastor Makado. Wenenda tutandikire. Emboozi ono Pastor Makado yeewaaku obudulizi nga bwe yajja okunoonya amaani ag'endawulo asobola okuboneka nti aba musumba w'amaani ng'akola ebyamagero awonya abantu bafune emirimu abantu bafune sente nga yeena agaba ku amaani ag'endawulo. Yagatolawa nabakobeire era mwawulire mu butambi bwaife bwasoose abayidye nga bagoberera ennaku ebiri adasoose nti amaani baamutola e South Africa kyashanguve baamutwala e Nigeria baamwandula mu ba priests abendikiriza jebeeta eya Ifa. Katandikirawo olunaku olwa leero. Webala okuwuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga. Webala okwekumira ku mwoyo gwa Busoga. Tulina omukutu gwaife gwa YouTube oguli mu mayina ga KHB Uganda. Okasobola okujjayo wagoberera wabona era emboozi saawa dino eriyo.
Eno n'enkulungu y'obufere wano ku 9/6 Busoga One Farmer omwoyo gwa Busoga.
I remember one day when the policemen came and they said, "We are arresting you because of mutilation." Remember, during that time in Soshanguve, there were a lot of cases where people were found cut with body parts, all those things. So it was rumored around that area and said there's a man who is strengthening business people, a man who is strengthening other churches, because a lot of pastors, they will come for consultation, a lot of traditional doctors, they will come for consultation, and I will give them power. That is true. I've got people that I know their churches stood, even today their churches are still standing on what I have given to them, and immediately I came out, others they called me straight and said, "You don't have to mention our names, you don't have to mention our churches, but this is the part of my life. Yes, I've given people powers. There are people who've got churches because of what I did." Now, the police came on that fateful morning and said, "Are you Makado?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "We are arresting arresting you because of mutilation, and they took me with handcuffs. And I remember I went to Soshanguve police station, and it was news all over the newspaper. They came, they did some documentary, newspaper, television, they broadcast the story. And when I was inside the cell, I remember very well, they said, we are taking you to Hoshimampuru, there is no bail for you. And we went to Hoshimampuru. I stayed there for about 3 months in Hoshimampuru, going trial. In my heart, to be honest with you, I knew I did not do anything like that. And when I was going trial, it was during that time where I had to come back to my senses. I remember one man in the prison, he told me and said, this is not the place for pastors. And that is where he spoke direct into my sense, into my purpose. You know, sometimes God will allow a prisoner to speak freedom to you. This is what happened. He spoke freedom into my spirit, because what he said kept on ringing into my heart and said, this is not the life that God has called me for. This is not what I was supposed to be. So I remember in prison, you know, there are different churches. You know, we've got African initiated churches where you talk of the ZCC, they are there. You talk of the Apostolas, they are there. And also Bazalwane Christians are there. I remember I had to go and attend one sermon. Well, another prisoner was preaching to us, and as he was preaching, I raised up my hand and said, I want to accept Jesus Christ once again. And that is where my total change began, when a prisoner was giving me freedom. A prisoner can give you freedom. Now, I came out and I was acquitted from the case. And when I was acquitted, remember this case, it had a community interest. People were marching to the court. When I was attending court, the police, they had to close the road because people, they will come there, will bend tires, will do everything. They will chant my name. Everybody will chant. The people, they know this story. This is what was happening. When I was acquitted from the case, I remember the judge said, we don't see anything, you go. The crowd outside, you can imagine, I had to pass through the crowd. I prayed a prayer. I said, Lord, I need you to protect me. I did not have my car by then. I had to use a taxi. I had to walk through the crowd that was furious, that was angry, shouting my name, shouting my blood, shouting my life. I had to walk there, and as I walked, they could not notice me. This is the real miracle I saw. I passed them, they were shouting, Makado, Makado, we want Makado, we want. I passed there, I went and I hiked for a taxi and I went home.
Kifiro hawali, tuwangere ensonga edigema ku bufere, n'abafere.
Ndidukira lunaku lulala abasirikale aba poliisi lwe bayida bankoba nti bali kungema olw'emisango egyaliwo. Mwejjukire nti mu biseera ebyo we nabeerawo mu Soshanguva waaliwo obumenyi obw'amateeka bungi, ng'era abantu baagaanibwa babatemyeko ebitundu byaibwe ebyekyama, ebintu ebyenkula eyo bityo. Era wakoba nti iddukira nti eriyo n'abasumba ab'amaanyi abaali bayida gyendi, n'abasawo ab'ekinnansi baali kweta traditional doctors baali nga bajjaayo okwebuuza. Era nalimba w'amaanyi nabuti waayogerera akoba nti eriyo amakanisa ageemereirewo nga geemereire ku maanyi ge yabawa. Bwe navaayo abamu ku bo bayida baakoba nti tolina kutwogera mayina gaife era tolina kwogera makanisa gaife. Era kino kiri kimu ku nze ayikiriza nti yawa abantu amaanyi ag'endawulo abalina amakanisa amanene. Poliisi bwe yayida mu makya amalungi yambuuza nti niiwe Makado? Nabayiramu nti yi ninze. Bankoba nti tuyidde kukugema musango ogwa okuboneka nti owagira obumenyi obw'amateeka. Bantaako empingu era ndiddukira bantwala ku Soshanguve police station. Ab'amawulire bangi bayida bampandiika ku amawulire buli wamu. Ndiddukira bwe nali mu kaduukulu bankobererawo nti tuli kutwala mu ikomero erindi era wano wazira kukweyimirira. Era bantwala mu Hoshimampuru, naliyo emyezi 3 nga nkola obusibe. Era mu mutima gwange nenda okuba omwesimbu gye muli nali nkiidi nti ezira kintu kyonna kyonna kye nali nkoze ku ebyo bye bangoba. Era ndidukira omusaadde omu bwe twali mu ikomera mu busibe yankoba nti kino tina ekifo ekyabasumba olwoni bwendira eri mu buntu bwange. N'akoba nti ebiseera ebisinga Katonda aleka omusibe okwogera amazima gy'oli. Kino n'ekyaliwo, yayogera amazima gyendi. Bw'ayogera amazima eri omwoyo gwange olwoni obwongo bwange bw'atandika okulumuka nayiddukira nti buno tino obulamu Katonda bwe yandetta okubaamu era buno tino obulamu bwe nina okubaamu. Nga bw'edi nti mu makomera awo abasabi n'ababuulizi b'enjiri baida mwatandika okubanga mwogerezeganyaamuuku. Ayiddukira nti ng'amakanisa amangi bagabaayo mu makomera aga buli ddiini, yeena lulala yajjayo oku mu kusaba ng'eriyo omusumba ayidde okubuulira enjiri mu ikomera omwo, yeena yaaba mu babuulira enjiri. Bwe yali ali kubuulira yawanika omukono yakoba ati nenda okwiramu okwikiriza Yesu Kristo omulundi ogwokubiri. Era awo obulamu bwange bwe bwatandikira nga Katonda ampaire eidembe. Musaadde ayogera ekisesera ati obusibe busobola okukuwa eidembe buti. Navaayo ng'era omusango ngumaliriza mwidukire nti omusango guno abantu ba buliido bagutaamu ino era bwe nali nga ndi kuyiddanga okundeeta mu kooti abantu nga bangi baidda babooga kooti gwe tweta human interest case. Akuba nti buli lwe baamuleetanga mu kooti poliisi yayina okukolanga ekyamaani okwigala enguudo, abantu baalinga beekalakaasa bookya ebipiira bayemba bwaliina lye makado makado makado. Akuba nti abantu eno emboozi bagiidi era ekyaliwo bakiidde bulungi. Bwe nasonyiwebwa omusango guno kooti yakoba titubona musango gwona golola, aye abantu abaali ku luya abangi nali nina okuba bitamu. Nasaba esaala n'akoba nti Katonda nenda iwe onkuume. Nali nzira motoka yange ekiseera ekyo nga nteekeirwa okutambulira mu ntambula ey'olukale. Nali nina okubita mu bantu abangi abo abaali abakambwe nga bali kwemba eriina lyange. Nali nina okuba bitamu, aye bwe nali nga mba bitamu baali tebasobola kuntegeera. Era akoba nti kino n'ekyamagero kye yategeera nti Katonda akola ebyamagero. Ekyamagero ekyo okubita mu bantu nga bajja bwe bemba makado 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 twenda makado. N'ababitamu n'ajja n'afuna entambula ey'olukale nga ni takisi n'agolola ewaka.
Eno n'enkulungu y'obufere wano ku 9/6 Busoga One Farm omwoyo gwa Busoga.
Tukikoze nga tubala nti ni dada wange Gladys Naigaga asobola okutegeera ebintu bino. Awanze engereza ku wange ataida kuniga muwala wange Naigaga Gladys muka abaana tasobola kuniga ata nanigira sezaala we tikoba batabane bange nti omuwala gwe mwaleeta mu mubinge mbala mwisaako abawuliza omwoyo gwa Busoga. Emboozi mugiwulira, aye emboozi dino de tuleeta wano nenda dibayambe okwegeraku, dituyambe okulabukiraku. Otegeere nze bwe ntwala esente dempa eriyo bembona okuwaayo ekimu esente badisula ku woltali, aye ono yena yayogeire nti gye yatoola amaani esente baali badita ku woltali awo we yali yata amaani we yali yaziika omutwe ogw'embidi gwe yava nagwe e Nigeria. Era n'ekiruubirirwa ekyokuwaayo esente ng'aditaawo kyona yakitukobeire ababaire ku programu yaife yeido aba atagitegeire mwireyo mubone obutambi obuli ku social media obuli ku YouTube mwidabo bona kuli ku part 1 part 2 eno part 3 gye tulikola olwaleero era bwenaabanga tiri kwenda kulumukira mu program nibo tunakola part 10 tuyidde kikola aye nga mutegeire ensonga nenda twagivaako nga tutegeire tulina omukutu gwaife ogwa YouTube oguli mu mayina ga KHB Uganda jayo subscribing jayo obona emboozi edo jabuti wosaachingira ja mu isimu yo sawa dino gigeme smartphone yo gigeme jawe musaachingira video wandiikawo ekigambo KHB tawo space owandikewo ekigambo Uganda KHB tawo space owandikewo ekigambo Uganda butini bwomala okuwandikawo ekigambo Uganda saachinga ejakuleetera ekifaananyi ekyomusada ayambaire kooti ya bulu esaati ya sky blue era nga agemye kamera mu mukono gwe emba obulungi eti bwoba akayigulawo oti bwokona ku mukutu ogwo nigwigulawo so kyosookera ku subscribing akaali ku subscribing iwe bwoba wasubscribing kiryoke buti nenda okulamusa ku kirunda Silas webala okubona KHB Azake of ZK Metal Works wale wachitaka masanaza webala okubona KHB Hakimu Erika webala okubona KHB ononi alibuvuma Simon Peter inebyo Simon Peter ainebyo webala okubona KHB nendo okubula musaku yauka muwada webala okubona KHB wambaha yeseri ononi aina musisi na musisi kiri mbale kiri sironko mbale sironko nkulamu isaku webale Lutalo James webale ankobya ati nkulamusize ku baba weba soma Moses former chairperson L3 na masagali nkulamu isaku mweruka Hakimu nkulamu isaku ebuwenga oli ku manager mweruka Hakimu nkulamu isaku oli buwenga oli kubona Charles Chesimba akobya nti bakopa omuze okuva ekatwe Kampala abantu batola abantu basaba abantu esente ku nguudo mona omusango mu baino obati mugwidi mugubuuzeeku nendo otambula obuuzeeku bantu abaide ebyemisango bwoba n'ekiisi kyonna ku luguudo n'otoola ku muntu esente obati mukiidi n'otoola ku muntu esente musango munene nosaba omuntu esente muba n'embago muba n'ebitiiyo muba n'amajambiya mbago nze nabagemye ebifaananyi era nina evidence muli baibi actually ogw'omusango gw'omukatigole yabwibi kode aggressive robbery kode highway robbery kode bichi biri awo bityo misango giri nze bya misango tibidi aye nina basirikale mikwano jange bwe nagireyo okulipotinga omusango bagusuula mu katigole eyo musango emiba because timusobola atusaba sente mu kifuba mutyo omuntu yagwa ni ku motoka y'omusaada yagikuba pa lwaki okozesa oluguudo no twenda sente obwibi obw'ekika ekyo tulina okubulwanisa tubumalewo mutalowooza nti nwanisa bwibi buno bwonka n'obw'ekika ekyo so nze bataba ne bayimwe kamba disciplining abasigaire baida kubonera kwabo mbabede mbasuula ekirinya mbabede mbasuula ekirinya tuwere nembe n'omusango ogwo gwakwiba mu misango egyo eminene abeeyo ku emyaka 7 oba 6 tubanajja okwiranga batereire nga n'ekyalo kitereire mwidu abe nkulamwisa kuba okubona KHB ngo biwire webala okubona KHB waiswa Kalifani wa alaikum salaam wa rahmatullah osimye empereza yangoko yeti oli bugiri municipality webala okubona KHB budugu webala okubona KHB iziru budugu ki budugu Silaji Yusufu webala okubona KHB iziru buyengo soka David Sam webale munanga owe buyenge eyo ndikuletera kanyamandogo bankobye omukulu yantumire eri omukulu yantumire yakati mukoba awali mbwako kali kuleta kodi kali kwida kwesimba okubwe mupi omuntu asimbe abasimbe ebikado paka ku mulyango abasimbe ebikado paka ku mulyango bona basobola okufuna MP kale katulinde kale katulinde tubone oba bemupi babatonda nga balina kuba bagayiga aye mwabasimba ebikaddo paka ku mulyango ndi baleetera munayi mwasimba ebikaddo paka ku mulyango
eno n'enkulungu y'obufere wano ku 9/6 Busoga 1 Pamma omwoyo gwa bufere.
I hiked for a taxi and I went home. Now the policeman called me and said, "Are you at home?" I said, "Yes." And he said to me that you need to be careful because the community, they are now planning to come and burn your house. And I remember I called my wife. I was very depressed. I was very down. You can imagine I was just out of the cell. I was out of the cell. And I said to my wife, I thought that God has delivered me, but here comes another one, and we can't stop this one. The community are coming to burn the house. And they said they are coming. They said they've hired a bus. And guess what? After an hour, I got another call from the same policeman. And he said, you know what? The people, they said, on their way, on Mawapana Highway, the bus that they were using, it got a puncture. On the way, coming to the house, the bus got a puncture. It did not come up until today. And I said, Lord, I thank you for the power of protection upon our lives. Sometimes when we pray, we don't know how God operates, but He does protect us. We might not be able to see the shield that is upon our lives, but there is a shield and angels upon our lives. And that is how I saw the protection of God. Yes, indeed, I traveled to Nigeria, as I've said. I've been to Zimbabwe. And you know, once you are introduced into this power, the problem is that you want to be more powerful. You know, power makes you to seek more power. You are not satisfied with what you have. You want to outbeat other prophets in Pretoria. You want to outbeat other prophets in your place. And I remember that I wanted to increase the power I had. And that is when I was introduced to a man in Zimbabwe. I was told about this man who is able to take things out of the people's body, the GSO, all those things. I don't believe into those things anymore because I know there are no such things where they say that there's a snake living inside of your body. I mean, we know snakes are in the zoo, so your body is not even a zoo. How can a snake live in your body? Now, what we used to do during that time, because I used to do this thing, listen to me very well. I used to do this thing very well. I know how it has been done. Number one, the man took me and said, let us go to Zimbabwe where you will be initiated. And I said, we go. And then when we went to Zimbabwe, they told me that you came at the right time. We just had a funeral because you are going to use the spirit of the dead. You know, these are just demons in different titles and different names. And they said, we are going to use the spirit of the dead. And I said, no, it's fine. And we waited for midnight. And they said, now is the time. You know, these people, when they come, they just tell you to do something. And if you decide to stop in the middle of it, they tell you it's either you will be mad, it's either you will lose your sight, it's either something bad will happen. They came in the middle of the night and said, now is the time, let's go. And I stood, I said, I'm going. And they said, take off your clothes. I said, what do you mean? Say, undress. And I had to undress. And they gave me a white cloth and we went outside. It was very dark.
Kifiro hawali tumwongere ensonga edigema ku bufere n'abafere
n'agolola ewaka. Omusirikale omu yankubira esimu yambuuza nti ogolwire ewaka, namukoba nti yankoba ati oteekwa okuba omwegendereza olw'ensonga abataka n'abantu ab'okukyalo balina enteekateeka ey'okwidda okwokya amakaago. Ndedukira nakubira mukyala wange esimu, nali mu birowoozo ebingi, nali munafu mu kiseera ekyo. Kuba nali nakava mu ikomera, kigambo kye namukoba nti mbona Katonda ansimulwire era Katonda ayize mu bulamu bwange. Bampayira amawulire nti abantu ab'ekyalo oba ab'omu community otuwangalira bali kwidda okwokya amaka gaife era bapangiisa emotoka ey'ekika ekya baasi oba lukalabaya bayidwire omwo bayide bookya amaka gange. Twabitawedde dakiika ntono naera munaafuna esimu okuva ow'omupoliisi mweno oyo yankoba nti oidiki abantu emotoka gye bapangiisa okuyida ewuwo eyabiike omupiira oba ekintu kigifumiita omupiira. Baasi bwe yapika omupiira tiyayida kigambo kinayogera nakuba Katonda wange nti nkwebaza olwo obukuumi n'amaani g'otaire ku bulamu bwange. Ebiseera ebisinga bwe tusaba titutegeera Katonda akola atya, aye Katonda atutaako obukuumi bwe. Era bwe tubaawo titubona engabo eyo eri mu maiso g'obulamu bwaife, aye engabo eyo ebaawo okututangira omulabe eri obulamu bwaife, era Katonda atyo bw'akola. Zeena bwe namubona ng'akola eri obulamu bwange. Natambula najja ne Nigeria nga bwe mbakobeire, najja e Zimbabwe. Bwe twogera ku Zimbabwe abantu baidi Mugabe ni Mnangagwa yajja e Zimbabwe. Ekizibu kiri wano, buli lwe bakwandula eri amaani n'ogafuna, oba oyenda kabiri okufuna amaani agasingawo. Kino kituleetera mu myoyo gyaife obutaba basiimu naki kye tulina. Oyenda okube abasumba katugeza abali mu Busoga mu Idinda, wayenda okube osinga amaani abasumba abali mu Busoga, oyenda osinga amaani abasumba abali mu Idinda, abasumba abali mu Busoga yona yona, n'abasumba abali mu Uganda yona yona. Olwo watandika okulwanagana n'abasumba abali mu nsi yona yona ng'oyenda obasinga amaani. Era ndidukira nti nayenda okwongeza ku maani ge nali nina. Era awo we nayandulirwa omusaadha ali mu Zimbabwe, baamandula yeeyo omusaadha oyo, era eyandaga ebitundutundu eby'emibiri egy'abantu. Aye nze tibiikiririzaamu waire nga byona byona yabindaga. Aye nze tikaabiikiririzaamu waire nga nali mbibweneku. Bino byali kwogerako nga ebirala byetuwulira nti bakutoiremu omusota mundaayo, bakutolamu eTV, bakutolamu amagumba, Abaganda byemwete ebigumba, Abasoga tubyeta bigala. Tibiikiririzaamu bwako bamakado. Embu bakiidi bulungi nti emisota gibeere mu bifo gye bagikuumira gye beeta mu zoo. Omusota guvaayo gutya gwatandika okuba nga guba mu mubiri gwo. Wulira nali nkola ebintu bino bulungi ino nga bwe byakolebwa gye bantwala buti. Musaada yambeeda yankoba nti katuje e Zimbabwe gyoyida okukyusibwa. Musaada nakoba nti tuje olwoni twalinamu olugendo olw'okujja e Zimbabwe. Bankoba nti waidye mu kiseera ekituufu tubaire twakaba n'amagombe. Bankoba nti tujakozesa amaani ag'emizimu egy'abafu. Yazana nakoba nti kiryoke nkizira ku taabu twalinda bwawera saa mukaaga ogw'obwire midnight. Era bankoba nti kino n'ekiseera ayoidi abantu abo batuuka bakoba nti kola kino, bw'osalawo okukoma wagati ow'ekyo kye bakukobya okukola. Bakoba nti bw'otakituukiriza kino kye bali kukoba oyinza okufuuka omulalu, amaiso go gayida kufaamu, nti era bw'odeema ekintu ekibi kijja kugwawo ku bulamu bwo. Era bankoba nti kino ekiseera kola tuje. Nasitukiramu bankoba ekigambo mu Luzimbabwe n'ababuuza mutegeeza ki? Bankoba ati weeyambule engoye. Bampa akagoye akeeru n'akeesiba.
Eno n'enkulungu y'obufere wano ku 9-6 Busoga One Farm omwoyo gwa
Zana Radio Bingo encholi olunaku olwaleero osobola okuboneka nga otangaza emikisa gyo. Olunaku olwaleero mu program The Bridge mukwirime wange Anyole Innocent ne muto wange Odwol John bajaga bakakaire kalala n'emitwalo 2 eri abantu bana. Abantu bana buli muntu ajja kuinuka n'emitwalo 8. Abantu bana ndikiramu. Abantu bana 4 peoples wama n'oluzungu olutuufu bajja kuinuka n'emitwalo 8. Butya wangula otya niga star 28 ndala star mukaga ash otemu onige okay oba oliwe muteno oba waliwa Airtel oteeka okubaako n'enkumi 2 edempiya wewangulire sente da Radio Bingo. Ate idukirani munange ni wali kuzaana buti nibona batowangwire oli kutangaza emikisa gyo egyo okuwangula pichipichi y'ekika kya bajaji munteekateeka daife tikuteekebwa ngenda batudde omwezi 3 omwezi ogwa December wale mu kisaawe Bugembe wetujja okuba n'ekivulugu kyaife ekiggalawo omwaka nga celebrating okubaweereza emyaka 7 nga tuli wano nze emyaka 7 ngimaze wano apa myaka 7 nga tubaweereza tubawe ekisinga kuba kirungi ku mukwapa guno gwa Eastern Region ni mu Uganda yona Ezra Radio doyinza atugerengeraniaku Ezra Radio bana mwide celebrating le walala mutulazo omukwano mwide tu celebrating le walala nimba naife aba radio bingo nga bakuwa esente niga butini ganinze geme isimu yo niga star 2 8 ndala star mukaga ash iwe sente olidi yadifuna tamu okay oteekwa okuba ku n2 ku isimu ekuimwe abali kuniga buti kuli ku banamukisa bana ng'omukisa bali gufuna mu programu eno bajja kutwala esente da radio bingo oba mu programu eno omuntu ali wobuduliza ati nze naniga kisiba walinga aliko bati niga twaniga naye era mpangwire pikipiki ya bajaji ninze agitwaire twala omwana ku Pioneer Technical Institute ene yaganibwa iganga asobola okuboneka nga ajasoma emirimu eginamuyamba okupenetrating hardness eje tuli kwagana oba block eri munsi muno eya Uganda onako olwalero nekyebula mirimo kye tuli kulira twala omwana ajasoma secretarial accounting and finance business administration records management marketing and sales management ku Pioneer Technical Institute eyaganibwa iganga ate ni munange bakomao government yabasiima yakoba ati engeri gye musomesa obulungi ino engeri gye mudde okugema mu abazaire tubataire mu ekiko n'enteekateeka ya government eya universal post primary education and training twagireta mu isomero lino lya Pioneer kale munange omwana asoma emirimu egyateeko emirimu egy'omu mutwe egya technical emirimu egy'emikono nibwo okayirika nga omulimo osigala nga ogulyaku wetandikirawo ogugwo mirimo kigino mulimu omwana okufumba emere okufumba emigaati oba okukola emigaati okwaniriza abagenyi mu woteri okuteekateeka woteri n'okubudaabuda abantu abayidye mu woteri ogwo guli awo kwabaako omulimu ogundi omwana yayega okutunga engoye okusamba ekyalaani guli awo omwana yayega okulongoosa pikipiki n'okugivuga n'okufuna driving license kiri awo omwana bamusomesa bulungi okuteekateeka enimiro kiri awo omwana bamusomesa okutambuza amasanalaze mu nnumba okugawayalinga kiri awo omwana bamwegeresa okuba kukola ebibaade ntebe madinisa ndigi okukola ebibaade oba okubaada kiri awo omwana bamwegeresa okulongoosa emotoka n'okudivuga n'okufuna driving license omwana bamwegeresa okwokya ebyuma ebya welding okukola amadinisa ndigi gate omwana bamwegesa okutambuza amaadi babimusomesa yakuguka mu bintu ebyo kubira dean of students ali ku 0783 946 oba 0755 ndala 6 basa ali ku 0705 0705 director ali ku 0772 0772 nkulamuisa ku Haji Yusufu Bachu webala okuwuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga banaife tulina omukutu gwaife gwa YouTube oguli maina ga KHB Uganda jawe musachingira YouTube wandikawo ekigambo KHB ospacinga owetewo Uganda olwo ndisobola okuboneka nga tutambulira walala soka David Sam kulamuisako oli Masese muzeyi wange webale emirimu gyotusaku na musiza nalongo n'abalongo bakoboti mbalamuisaku onamusi bakala musafi nkulamuisaku Tina Victorious nkulamuisaku madam iganga ku Iganga Municipal Council Primary School webale emirimu gyokola my dear webale ino webalire irala bogere Ronald Secretary Nabuganga nkulamuisa kuwebala okubona KHB Mukisa Shilafu webala okubona KHB Namukose Sumaya webala okubona KHB yako yati Allah nkume kuba wano weningire wa mutya byabwerefe katonda yatuteekako obukuumi. Moses Budidi Waiswa nkulamwisaku, Mbwadi Siraji nkulamwisaku, basalirwa Ahamidu nkulamwisaku webala okubona KHB, Mugweri Yoweri webala okubona KHB, Swaibu Mugulusi webala okubona KHB, Biyinzika Musa webala okubona KHB, Bagalia Matia webala okubona KHB, Bayinzika Musa, Mwase Slight webala okubona KHB, oli ku Busoga University webala okubona KHB, Kalulu Musa webala okubona KHB, Yasalongo Jonathan webala okubona KHB, Waiso Sadatu webala okubona KHB. Banange abasomi ba Kampala University mwena abawuliza omwoyo gwa Busoga ni program ene ekulongo y'obufere butini nenda munamusize ku abantu babiri ku Kampala University. Koja wange kantole yo ni bedi, koja wange nabeeta Michael, koja wange nabeeta Michael omulangira butini kubanga omulangira koja wange nabeeta Michael mumuna musize mukobe nti mwenda ino n'abaana abasomera ku Mother Kevin n'abaana yes ni YMCA mbala muisa kumunkobere koja wange nti mwenda ino muna musize mukaire wange mukyala koja Jacqueline nabeeta lirerindi twalitola kuira bamweta Jacqueline nabeeta oba Jackie nabeeta genda ku Kampala University awo mbakobe nti mutabane waimwe abalamwisa ino mutabane wo munkobere kojange nti mutabane wo akulamwisa era akwenda ino ndi obubaka bwidatuuka mwebala okuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga mwebale ino mwebalire anogeire ku omubikado ere gye basimba ebikado paka ku mulyango ni odwoli mutambuza mu message ambuza nani gobako bya basimba ebikado n'odwoli omusaada yatumye obubaka atimbu kale basimba bikado paka ku mulyango muti abasimba ebikado paka ku mulyango mbubana basobola okuba ne MP akanti akantu bakano omweire ino akasaada ako kandi guze kumereka ali ako kagenda oba eri amakere nagagedi amalega nga bakano omwana ino obutono bulwaire bona wabala okuliriza omwoyo gwa Busoga katweyongere mu maiso n'emboozi yaife olunaku olwaleero.
Sibo hawali twongere ensonga edigema ku bufere n'abafere.
And they gave me a white cloth and we went outside. It was very dark. And when we reached by the graveside, they said, take off your clothes. You have to be naked. I said, you mean I have to take everything? They said, yes. And I took everything. I was naked. Now they said I have to lie down on the grave, naked as I was. And I had to lie down there. And as I lied down, they said, now they are connecting me with the spirit of the dead. And I lay down and they left and they said, we'll come and take you. You know, I had this fear and say, if the community can just come and find me in that kind of a setting, they will say, here we have found a witch straight. Because you can imagine a naked man, a young man in the grave, a man who is sane, a man who grew up well, but here you are, a South African national. You can just imagine, where do you come from? I come from South Africa. You don't speak their language, you speak maybe Sotho or Venda. So they will think, how did you come here? They will just imagine that maybe you came with a broom or you came with a half bread or, you know, all these stories. But that was the situation. But suddenly the protection of God was there also. Nobody came and up until these guys, they came and said, now you are strong. And from then they gave me a flower and said, this flower I should put it in my office and I should put some sweets on it and I will pour milk on this flower because it represents the spirit of the dead child that I was sleeping on that grave. And sometimes I will, in my house where I stayed, I had a room where nobody could enter. Now in that room I would put all these calabashes, all these powers there because of I realized that they wanted their own space. Now sometimes I would hear the sound of a child crying in the house. I mean, not my children because they will be asleep, but I could hear the sound of a child crying and I knew those were demonic forces coming from where I took those powers from. So that is what happened, and it did not end there. I also went to Mozambique. When I went to Mozambique, I was introduced there by another man as well, and they gave me this powers. You had to give them names. So I called them by fire, by force. These were the powers that it's a male and a female. They told me that if you take only a male, the male will sleep with your wife. If you take a female will sleep with you. So you had to take them both. So, and you had to give them names. So because of I was using them for a church setup, I had to give them a name that is similar to church names. So I had to call them by fire, by force. Now they came, and when they came, I put them inside the office. And the night that they came, these powers, I remember I saw a vision of a short man who said that I must marry a second wife. They came in the dream and said that he is looking for a wife, a physical wife. So I have to marry another wife.
Kisimba hawali tuwongere ensonga edigema ku bufere n'abafere
bampa akagoye akeeru n'akeesiba twafuluma mu kuluya era enzikiriza yali yegemye ino. bwe twatuuka mu luwambiidhi oba mu magombe bankoba nti toolako akagoye keweesibyeko ako. bankoba nti oteekwa okuba bute nga bwe wazaalibwa. n'ababuuza nti buli kimu nina okukyetoola ku nsigale bute. bakoba nti yi. era neeyambula n'asigala nga bwe natonda ku nsi kuno. bankoba nti olina okulambaala nga weefundiike ku magombe, lie down on the grave. bwe nalambaala wansi bankoba nti balikungayita ku mizimu egy'abaafa. bwe banambaza wansi ku magombe bo bandekaawo bankoba nti baida kunona. era nalina okutya mu mutima gwange singa abantu ab'ekyalo ekyo gye twali e Zimbabwe bandagaana nga ndi butenga bwe nazaalibwa era nga nambaire ku magombe. kye balirowooziza era kye bandinkoleire. bandikobye nti twagaine omulogo mu kitundu kyaife. n'atandika okubirowoozaamu nti omuvubuka omuto nga nze, omuvubuka ategeera obulungi, eyasoma era eyakulira mu maka amalungi agaweebwa ekitiibwa okukola ekintu nga kino. era nga batandika okumbuuza ebibuuzo. obaawa? nva South Africa. olulimi lubwogera lwandawulwa ino niku lwange lwenkozesa. era baalibuuziza waida otya wano? bandirowooziza naida nakyeyo, naida naki okutuuka okujja mu luwambiidhi olw'abantu abandi. aye era ekisa kya Katonda n'obukuumi bwe bwandiku ezza muntu yenna wa kyalo yaida okutoola ku bano abantwala mu magombe okungayitaganya n'amaani ag'abafu n'abaida okunona. era bwe baida awo bampa eifumu, bampa n'ekimuli. bankoba nti ekimuli ekyo nteekwa okukitwala mu ofiisi yange nkiteemu n'obuswiiti nga nkiteire mu kabaketi olwoni mbenga nkiyuwiriranga amata buli kiseera. ekimuli kino n'ekikiikirire omuzimu ogwole omwana omufu mwene magombe ge nali nambayireku mu kiseera ekyo. era ewaka ewange mu nnumba bandagira nfunewo ekisenge kirala ng'ezira muntu yenna asobola kukiyingiramu. era nakizuula nti emisambwa gino n'emizimu gino gye bampaire byona nina kubita mu kisenge kino ekiba nga tikiggulu era nga tikiyingira mu muntu wundi yenna kubanga byali byenda okuba byonka. era ebiseera ebindi nali ntera okuwulira amaloboozi ag'omwana alira mu nnumba. aye bano tibaali baana bange bemba nabo mu nnumba kuba ekiseera bwe nawuliriranga amaloboozi agagalira abaana bange baali balambaire. aye nze mwene mu bwongo bwange n'okutegeera kwange nakitegeeranga nti gino n'emizimu oba emisambwa gye naleeta mwene okumpa amaanyi mu kanisa. ebyo n'ebyaliwo era tibyakomaawo. najjaaku ne Mozambique. bwe najja e Mozambique yoona nayandulwayo n'omusaada owundi n'aweebwa amaanyi agandi ag'endawulo. amaanyi gano ge naweebwa mu mayina agampeebwa twali tulina okugeeta by fire by force, ku lw'omuliro n'olw'amaanyi. oba mukiwulire bulungi nkiiremu. Amaanyi gano agampebwa mu iwanga lya Mozambique baali nga geetebwa by fire by force, ku lw'omuliro n'amaanyi. Era amaanyi gano kwaliku omujiini omusaada n'omujiini omukazi. Era bankoba nti bwenaatwalaku ejiini erala oba bwentwala eisaada lidda kusula ne mukyala wange. Bwenaaleeta eikazi lidda kubanga lisula nninze. Ekitegeeza nti amajiini gano gaali mafumbo era nga gatambulira walala, eisaada n'eikazi. Era amajiini gano olw'okuba nti nali ndi mu kanisa ate nga bankobye nga we amayina agagajjaamu mu kanisa, naye tikisobola kugeeta mayina gandi n'okugatuuma by fire by force, kisobole okutambulira mu nnono edda kanisa. Bwe naleeta amajiini gano ndiddukira nagata mu yafeesi yange. Aye obwire bwe nagaleeta oba bwe gayida ndiddukira nabona ekinsense ekyakasaada akampi. Ekinsense kino kyankoba nti nteekwa okufuna omukazi ow'okubiri.
Eno n'enkulungo y'obufere wano ku 9-6 Busoga One Farm, omwoyo gwa Busoga.
Munange webale okuliriza enkulungo y'obufere eri yanko yati bino nga bitiisa. Aye bye tulina okubakobera mutegeere ki ekifa mu kanisa ya Kristo. Munange Brian Zakayo official okuva ekangulumira Buyengo. Webale yati bifo gye twidamuwa. Munange bw'ogaita mukoirime wange ni negwe bakola naye programu ndala de bridge tewera mu kiro ayewera kiro ekinana oba ensanvu tikiwa uwundi 25 uwundi dinzo okuba 3. Aye ndi kubaleeta Butagaya Anyole Innocent Mbago mukoirime wange mayimuko Buyengo Buwenge Butagaya Rumuli Kodi Luzinga wo Kamata Twala Anyole Innocent obutono tino okutegeera nze nino omutwe mubaye singa Anyole okutegeera ndi mubayi nei aye Anyole tini mukama wange so lwaki olowooza mbwi olw'okuba iwozito waino waidi engeri gyenesunze mu ka message okuva duzi paka ido mukama wange bwe yakikoze ku ka message kanyogereza olw'okuba mutono omubiseemu amaiso bana bwe tuba tunoonya qualities edaba kulembeze tulina kunoonya mukulembeze idea na kuje tubitamu. Musaada waitu asomere Walukuba West atambuiza bigere jinji esesi taidi na bei ya motoka taidi na bei ya pichipichi tagulanga ku motoka ini bano bombi bendi kuogera tibagulanga ku pichipichi tibaidi na bondi bwe difanana bendi kuogera kuwano tibaidi bondi bwe difanana tibaidi bei ya pichipichi era nsubira omukulu owundi okutegera bei ya pichipichi ng'agire kugula pichipichi ya ledi yeno kusaininga cheke so munaimwe idea ndajibwe diwoma idea isusa bwe diwoma idea katunkuma bwawoma idea mfulu bwe diwoma yatambuzanga bigere yetu ikamanda kuva masesenga bamutumye okujogula amanda agolu ku myage 5 alete gakaba fumbe lwedi buze banoni enku no wundi kugerera nku yene ebuyengo so bendi kubaletera baidie naku ebigambo bikomya omusaada bamutwala ku magombe bamulambaza bamuhambuire ko bati wefundika ku magombe twida kwira mu lunaku olwencho ni program manayita kalyo good morning ndinze kisiba wali 0702 85325 oba 0783 program enkulungo y'obufere twida kwira mu wichi eri kwida ku balaza manayita kalyo ya tomorrow good morning.
kutegeeza Eagle Petrol Station ni Eagle Plaza Hotel mu kibuga eky'Ibinda ku Main Street. Imwe abenda accommodation y'omulembe, rooms ed'okupangisa, nedisana mu office, nimwe abateekateeka enkuŋŋaana di conference, n'abali planning emikolo egya buli nsambo. Eagle Plaza Hotel n'ekifo kyonka. Ekifo kino